So you're looking for some totally tubular tube lights? Well, look no further, cause Nanlite's got you covered, bruh. Sorry, I couldn't help myself, but we are talking about the Nanlite Pavotube II 6C. And you guys want to know all about this? I ordered 2 of these bad boys, and I'm going to be testing them out and showing you exactly what they're all about, what you can do, what they're capable of. So without further ado, here is the review of the Nanlite Pavotube II 6C. So what's in the box? Obviously, we got the light, but it comes in this really nice, very sleek felt feeling carrying sleeve that we've got here. Obviously the light comes inside of that. You've got a USB-C charging cable, which is nice. I feel like you can never have too many good quality USB-C cables. It's got this little handle leash thingy, which I'll talk about in a little bit, and then has these 3 magnetic chips, which are awesome. Now the specs of this thing, as you would assume, it is a fully RGB capable LED tube light. And it is about 1.5 inches by 10 inches long. So 1.5 inches diameter and 10 inches long. And it weighs just over 1/2 pound. So it's awesome. Now the great thing about this is that it's actually fully temperature controlled. You can go from 2700 Kelvin all the way to 7500 Kelvin. And then it has green magenta adjustments as well, which is an unbelievable filter. You can actually change the tint balance on this light itself. Which is very rare for a light of this size and price point. So really cool feature that they give you there. You can adjust the tint balance. Awesome. This light is boasting a CRI of 95 and a TLCI of 97, and it has full dimming from 0 to 100%. Now, these are all specs that you can find on the website. The lumen output at 5600 Kelvin is about 520 lumens, and it's measuring a lux at 1 meter and 5600 Kelvin of 138 lux. So it's fairly bright. Now, you're not gonna be really lighting a massive scene with this particular light. I think that the sweet spot for this thing is smaller environments like I'm in right now, and then kicker or fill lights for different colors and accents too. I really think that that's where the sweet spot of this light is. So the fact that it doesn't have an incredibly high lux or lumens rating is not really a deal breaker for me, especially for the price point. The real thing is that I'm using this for accents, kickers, and different types of key lights in small situations. But the RGB is really where this thing starts to shine for me, and the reason that I was so interested in the first place. Now the battery inside this thing is a 3.7 volt, 2200 milliamp lithium ion battery. And this is one of the cons that I have with this light. That actually should last a fairly long time. I haven't tested it to see if it actually runs out at any particular time and at what output it would be best served. However, the fact that there is no hot swappable or swappable battery period to this thing is something that bothers me just a little bit. Now, the reason for that is that I tend to do fairly long shoots. Like if I'm going to do some shooting, I'm gonna do a long, all day shot. And if I don't have a way of swapping a battery out on these things, it makes it really difficult for me to use this in like an interview or a typical setup. And so that's really one of the drawbacks. I wish I had the ability to do some type of swappable battery, whether it's a Sony NPL something. That would really be kind of just the final cream of the crop coup de grace for me, but that's the only real problem I find. Like I said, there's 2 1/4-20 mount receivers on either side of the tube itself, on the top or the bottom. And one of the things I think are amazing is that this thing actually has magnets on either side, the top or bottom, right alongside the 1/4-20 screws themselves. Now this thing is actually a pretty cool feature because you can start to hit them and magnetize them and mount them in different places, which I think is really cool and handy, especially when this light is supposed to be able to be used in certain situations where it would be out of scene. You wouldn't really see it. Giving us the ability of mounting it via a magnet is just another additional way that we can use this thing and adds to its versatility. So here's what I love about this light. I love the build quality. I love the price point. I love how small it is and the fact that I can fit it in a bunch of inconspicuous spaces in a variety of mounting options. I can thread this just to a regular C-stand or a boom arm. I can put this on a friction arm as well. I have the example of that here. The key light that I'm using is another Nanlite Pavotube, and it's hooked up via friction arm to the back of my chair. So there's a bunch of different options that I can use from a mounting point of view, or I can just stand them up in my scene and use them from an RGB standpoint as Kicker fills all the different options that I have there as well. So how could you actually use this light? What are some options and some lighting options that you would be able to see with this thing in play? Let's check out some examples. So you typically see an RGB light as an accent for like product shots and things like this. So here's a really quick thing I did on my iPhone when these things first came in here. You could also use this as a hair light in a variety of situations. Like I said, you could kind of boom this over the top of somebody with the C-stand and a boom arm and kind of rim light or hair light the back of them. Or like I said, in certain instances, you can use this as your key light and the kicker and the fill light that you have as well. So this scene right now, outside of that practical light behind me, is being lit entirely with the Pavotube II 6C. It's kind of a long name. I don't really like the name. We should shorten the name. The Pavotube II, the 10-inch version. The 10-inch Pavotube. How about that? So yeah, you can use this completely light your setup. Now this is a smaller-ish room, and so I don't really have the need to be throwing light all over the place so that I can kind of get away with something like this, but you can get really creative and use it as your main key light as well. And then the last suggestion I would make is that you should be using this to kind of accent certain pieces of your set in and of itself. So here I've used it in this particular instance, just kind of throwing some light and adding some depth to my scene. And when I come back to the office, I've switched out the newer CN160, and then you can see on the shelf behind me, what I'm using is one of the Pavotubes to be able to throw light upwards and just give some depth to my scene. So as you can see, they're super versatile lights, and I'm very happy that I copped a couple of them to add to my kit, and I hope that you guys consider doing the same thing as well. With that being said, if you liked the video, please like the damn video. And if you really are thinking that this is something you might be into, please consider subscribing, because I put out content on a weekly basis on filmmaking, the business of being a creative. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for post notifications, because it really does help this channel grow and reach a larger audience. Until next time, ladies and germs of the internet, this is Robert Teegarden. It's been a lot of fun talking to you. Thank you for hanging in for me for this long, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.